The king in the north! Azora Ahai needed to forge a hero sword. He labored for 30 days and 30 nights until it was done. However, when he went to temper it in water, the sword broke. He was not one to give up easily, so he started again. The second time he took 50 days and 50 nights to make the sword, even better than the first. To temper it this time he captured a lion and drove the sword into the beast's heart, and once more the steel shattered. The third time with a heavy heart, for he knew beforehand what he must do to finish the blade. He worked for 100 days and nights until it was finished. This time he called for his wife, Nissa Nissa, and asked her to bare her breast. He drove his sword into her living heart. Her soul combined with the steel of the sword, creating Lightbringer, the red sword of heroes. And although he had Lightbringer, Azora Ahai did not fight alone. That when the hero thrust the blade through a monster, the creature burst into flames. It is unknown if Azora Ahai is connected with the legend of the last hero, who lived during the long night and helped to defeat the others. Oh, hello to all you beautiful people. I'm ready to drop some major knowledge today on y'all. Some of you might not like this, but it has to be done. This is the Jon Snow future predictions video. And what I'm about to break down, kind of ruffles the feathers. There's a lot of emo people out there that love Jon Snow. They might not want to hear that knowledge, but I try to keep it simple, keep it beautiful for the beautiful people out there. So, right now, my beliefs is Jon Snow is Nissa Nissa. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm going to tell you why I think he's Nissa Nissa. Most people don't even want to, couldn't even fathom that. Jon Snow's already died. Are you trying to tell me he's going to die again? Yes. Jon Snow will die again as Nissa Nissa to Azora Ahai. And Azora Ahai is none other than the mother of dragons, the unburnt, the every other title that woman has, Queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar, you name it, the last of the Targaryens, etc., etc., etc. Dany is Azora Ahai. If you go back and you look at her dream sequence, that she had in the books, you will realize that she is Azora Ahai and it's not Jon Snow. So, let's get this popping. To all my emo people, I love y'all, but it's gotta happen. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm emo just like y'all. I love Jon, but it is what it is. This is what's gonna happen, in my opinion. Jon is gonna be sacrificed. He is gonna give his life to Dany to make Lightbringer. Now you may ask, what is gonna be Lightbringer? I'll get to that later. Okay. You may be wondering, why do you think Dany is Azora Ahai and not Jon? The way this story is written, the way George R.R. Martin is doing it, he already killed Jon once. He won't mind killing him again. And Dany, in my opinion, will not die. She is the protagonist of the story. She is the one, the prince that was promised. Her son was going to be the stallion that mounts the world. Well, guess what? Drogon is the stallion that mounts the world. Her other baby son. Okay? And he is now going to be what she uses to defeat the White Walkers and the Night King. Jon Snow and her will join battles together. But in the end, Jon will sacrifice his life when he sees that the possibility of beating the Night's King is not possible without him giving his life. She will use Heartsbane to temper in Jon Snow's heart, his second heart. He's already been killed once. The second heart will reignite Lightbringer. Heartsbane. Thank you, Christina Sphinx. for giving me that little bit of knowledge on the Tarly ancestral blade. It will be the weapon that will become Lightbringer. And we'll get to more of that in a bit. Now, once everyone comes to the realization that R plus L equals J, we now will know then that Dany is Jon's aunt. People think that they will be married and live happily ever after and have babies, and their babies will ride the other two dragons. No. If that's what you think the ending of this is going to be, you haven't been paying attention. You haven't been paying attention to what George R. R. Martin's been telling you. This does not have a happy ending. Okay? Once Daenerys Targaryen comes to Westeros with the Dothraki horde and has the other houses bend the knee to her, she will set her sights on the wall in the north. By this point, by the time Dany comes to Westeros, Jon Snow will have already defeated Ramsay, will have already reclaimed Winterfell, but none of that will matter because the White Walker army will descend on them. I wouldn't be surprised if after the Bastard battle, the War of the Bastards between Jon and Ramsay, that the Night's King doesn't show up right then and there on the battlefield. And as soon as Jon defeats one enemy, another enemy comes right back on his ass. And Jon will be left with nothing else but to ask Sam Tarly for help, his old friend who will by this point be a maester. Who will by this point have had Heartsbane sitting on the mantle at Old Town. And tell Jon, I've got another Valyrian Steel sword. Here you go, Johnny boy, you can have it. And at this point, Sam will have already learned the exploits of Dany Targaryen. He will have known she had set sail a conqueror with 3 dragons, conquered Slaver's Bay, and will now be coming to Westeros. Sam will then send a letter to Dany telling her that the White Walker army, the real army, will be coming from the north. And Dany will look at this as the way to have everyone in Westeros on her side. If she defeats the White Walker army, she will then have no problems claiming the Iron Throne. This will have her reclaim the Targaryen dynasty as the saviors of Westeros and be crowned queen of all time. Sam will then tell Jon Heartsbane is available and another soldier will need to wield her. Jon will then give the sword to Dany. And then here comes the juicy stuff. Once the battle of ice and fire begins, she will then need to be Azora Ahai reborn. At this point, I suspect Dany will have so many red priestess and priests surrounding her, advising her the way Stannis did, that they will already explain to her that she is the chosen one, the prince that was promised. She will then remember the visions at the House of the Undying with Rhaegar telling her that his sons were the princes that were promised. Dany will then realize that Jon Snow is Rhaegar's last son. He was also born to Rhaegar in that lineage. The lineage of the Mad King Aerys can only be the ones that of the prince that is promised. Okay? Dany and her 3 dragons, I suspect that Tyrion and Jon will be the 3 heads of the dragon. That will be the other riders. They will do everything in their power to beat the White Walkers this way, but it will come to a point where someone will have to die and sacrifice themselves. That sacrifice will be Jon Snow. He will explain to Dany, his aunt, that you must kill me to use Lightbringer. They will think it's Longclaw, they will think it's Oathbreaker, they will think it's Dark Sister, but none of the Valyrian Steel swords will be the one. It will be Heartsbane, the Tarly ancestral sword. Dany will plunge it into Jon's heart, and the sword will be bursting into flames and be the weapon to defeat the Night's King. At this point in our story, once Jon sacrifices his life for the main cause of defeating the Night's King, the Night's King will be defeated, the armies of the Whites will be put back, and another Stark will be at Winterfell to record all of this, just like back in the times when the first Night's King was defeated. The dragons won't matter, none of all that magic will matter, it'll be Heartsbane, the Valyrian sword, that'll matter. In my opinion, the books and the TV show may differ, but the new Stark of Winterfell will probably be Sansa. She may even be crowned the Queen of Winter, the Queen of the North, the Queen of the North. Okay, and that's how that's going to be settled. I suspect that Rickon may not survive by the end of this. By the time we're talking about the Battle of the Bastards, okay, then the first Battle of Ice and Fire with the second Battle of Ice and Fire. I don't suspect Rickon will survive through all this. As weak as Sansa may be, she is a fighter. She is a lot resembling her mother Catelyn, and I believe she will make it to the end of this story. She will be the Queen of the North, the Wardeness of the North, and the Starks will regain Winterfell, and this is how the story will finish up and wrap up. Bran will be continuing his life as the new Green Seer until 100 years later when a new Stark emerges from Sansa's line to become the new Green Seer Warg. So, if you guys like how I do this, if you enjoyed the entertainment I brought to you, please subscribe, please like, and please share. Thank you, thank you, thank you.